using JavaFX, and I'm going to build you up to this in 4 phases. So let's begin. I have us off in the beginning here with some basic random circle generation code, and then we're going to build our way up to that pretty awesome thing that you just saw. Okay, so I'm actually going to get rid of some of this, and then we'll do it together. All right, so here's something that you're used to seeing in beginner JavaFX type creations. You're used to having a scene, putting a pane on the scene, setting the stage, and showing things. Okay, we also have preferred size, 600 by 600 pixels, sure. Okay, so that's all very basic. That's in the start. That's in the start method that's like the main entry point for JavaFX to begin when you compile. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to first just make a random circle with a random color, size, and location. All right, so let's make that method. We'll call this createRandomCircle, which I think is a pretty good name. And so we're going to make a random object of type random. So we'll construct that, no biggie there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to generate, let's generate some randomness having to do with this circle. So again, the random properties, it will include color, size, and location. Okay, so let's go for it. First, well, let's make a random radius. That's going to give us our random size. One thing that's kind of interesting is we can make a random radius using our random object. We're going to call next double on it, and let's scale this. Let's scale this by 40. Now, you may or may not be familiar with this, but we're going to basically make a random radius between 0 and 40, and we're going to add 10 to it. So our radius is going to be 10 through 50. So that's going to give us a random radius. Now we can also have a random location for its center. So for the x value, for the x portion of its center, the x coordinate, we're going to use our next double function again. And what we'll do is, based on however big our area is, we know our pane is going to be 600 by 600, but we want this to work out generally. We have these 2 parameters right here, so we can kind of make our radius, make our location be radius big plus a little bit extra here. All right, so we're going to end up looking at our maximum width, and let's reduce it by double the radius. Okay, so if you think about our x coordinate, we don't want it to be off of our viewing area. We want it to be at least radius away from the edge on either the width or the height. So we're going to actually use this same sort of structure for not only the x value, the x coordinate, the x value of the center, but also the y value of the center. But instead of max width, we'll mess with this vertically. So we'll consider max height here. It might be helpful to draw a picture to convince yourself that this is going to stay in the viewing area. We have this bit of randomness, but it's going to be just fine. It's going to fall within the max width and max height. All right, so a little bit of fanciness there. Again, you might want to draw a circle and plug in some values just to guarantee to yourself that it's going to stay within the viewing area. Okay, so now we have the x and the y. We also have the radius. Last but not least, we need a color. So I'll just go color C. Let's create a new color. We're used to just constructing things in Java. We're going to definitely do next double a few more times here. We're going to go see how we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 parameters here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. Get rid of that last comma. So those are going to be RGB values, RGB, and O. So RGB values and then opacity at the end. Okay, so now we have a color. So we're randomly generating what the radius, the x and y, so its location, its center, its radius, its color, and now with all this randomness, we got to make a circle. So notice we're just constructing quite a lot of things here, but now we're going to give it its center and its radius. And once we've created that circle, we're going to set its fill value. So we'll take that color that we created, call it C, and we can set the fill there. Now keep in mind, this createRandomCircle method, its return type is a circle. So we actually have to return our circle. IntelliJ was yelling at me, but now it's not yelling at me because we now are returning the circle that we equipped with all the randomness we want. So we've made a random circle. Again, we have all the basic fixins that you're used to with just like a basic application. But the last thing we need to do, and you've seen us do this before, using a lambda function or a lambda method. With this lambda function, what we're going to do is we need the pane. We need the pane to listen for our clicks. So we've already made our pane object. So if we dot it, we can use this method. And so this is, you're going to see lots of mouse methods through this video, but we're going to do this method setOnMouseClicked. Okay, and we'll end up getting to mouse dragging later. But you know, one thing at a time. This is like the first of the 4 phases, so we can make that beautiful random art. Okay, so on mouse clicked, what we need now is we need our event, and so we're just going to set up a giant block of code here for our lambda. All right, so notice how those parens go together, the braces go together. Now I have a giant block of code. So when we click, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create our random circle. Okay, so we're going to create our random circle. How do we create a random circle? Well, keep in mind we just made createRandomCircle, that method. So we're going to make a circle, and that circle will be created by, because the createRandomCircle returns an object of type circle, we can just call this method right here. And so what's interesting now, we don't want this to go off of the pane. We made our pane be 600 by 600, so we can do pane, and then we're just going to get the width and the height. All right, so now we're going to make a circle, and we sort of fixed it so that it's going to be within our viewing area. And we had this cool method that did it. Now, I'm going to actually run it because it's not going to work, and I think that's important for you to see. All right, so let's see what this does. Hey, look, we got a pane. Oh, but it does nothing. Oh, well, what did we forget to do? Well, every time we click, we make a circle. However, we have to take our pane, and again, you always have to use this method. We've got to do getChildren, and then we have to add And if you have more than one thing, you could use add all. But now we're just going to throw in the circle that we made so that that circle can actually be seen on the pane that we created. Because, you know, we're putting that pane on the scene, and then we're actually setting up the stage and showing the stage. But when we didn't do that, when we didn't add the circle to the pane, we didn't get to see it at all. And that was kind of depressing. So now, setOnMouseClicked. So this is the first phase. Every time I click. Oh, yeah, and so you might be a little frustrated now, and that's actually intentional. I think our next phase here is we'll actually have it create a circle where we click. But look, this is sort of like I don't know, it's like chicken pox or something. So this is still pretty beautiful, but let's get some more interactivity soon. Okay. So now let's modify our code, but we want it to be centered at where we click, because right now we just go in a random location. So let's slightly modify our code, and we're going to keep tweaking it until we make that beautiful, wild, interactive art. Okay, so now we can sort of change things a little bit. All right, so we have our pane, but now the only thing that we really need to change is with our createRandomCircle, that method before, we gave it that random x and y. Okay, well, now what we're going to do is we could actually, let's actually throw in, we don't need to be limited by the pane as we were before, but now we're going to generate a random circle, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually give it the pane that we're in. So this is going to be kind of interesting. So we're still going to generate all of the randomness, and we're going to put our circle at the appropriate location, but we're going to actually tell it in the createRandomCircle method. When we call it, we're going to tell it the appropriate x and y, that location, and that's going to be based on where we click on the mouse. So we can use all this. We can use all this other good stuff. Okay, so we can still create random circles. That's fine. We're still going to do it on setOnMouseClicked, but now what we need to do is, before we do anything else, we need to get our x and y coordinates for where we click on the pane, so that we're going to generate a circle at that center. And it's actually a pretty nice method. It really reads like English. We can just do e.getX, and we can do e.getY. So now we have, on that event, when we click inside the pane, setOnMouseClicked will be able to get the x and the y coordinates. It'll get that exact location. And now what we can do is our new createRandomCircle method. We can now throw in the x and the y that we get from where we click. And we can even throw it into that pane. Now, you know what? I don't even think we need to throw the pane in. I'll get rid of that. We're just going to return the circle, and then we'll add it. So I think that should be just fine. Let's see. If it's not, we'll modify it. So hopefully this is like phase 2 now. We're getting more intricate. Pretty soon we're gonna have 4 loops with circles. It's gonna be pretty neat. Oh, hey, look where we're clicking. Oh, sweet. Now this is actually kind of beautiful. Look at this. If I keep clicking in the same spot, that's pretty nice. But so now one click, now it's centered where I click. I can make my circles. Ooh, that's kind of beautiful. Okay, so that was the second phase of our creation. Now we need some continuity. When you always want to make things more interesting, you need loops. Okay, so now we're going to create the opportunity so that we can draw random circles continuously as we drag our mouse. Okay, so let's go for it. So we already have the method createRandomCircle. That's all well and good. But now let's use a different method. And what's nice is all these methods already exist. Instead of setOnMouseClicked, what we're going to do now is it's going to be setOnMouse. And let me show you how to find it. It's going to be setOnMouseDragged, but watch. setOnMouse. Whoa, there's all these options. You have so much control. But, we're just doing the basics here. setOnMouseDragged. Okay. So now we're doing, we're still getting our locations of X and Y. We're going to generate our circle right there. Oh, it would be cool. I just kind of want to make this a little bit more interesting. Let's just throw in the circle right here. It's always fun to just mess with things a little bit. See how that looks. So now what we should do is it's nice. We haven't actually gotten to a loop yet, but now when we drag, we're going to be constantly creating random circles. Okay, so let's see. And then the last final step will be we need a loop. Look, so now I'm drag clicking. Okay, well that's pretty beautiful. Okay, so now if you want, we can go a little bit further in the paint. Let's make it create a bunch of random circles every time we click using the mouse. So that's actually an extension. Here's what you saw at the beginning of the video, but let's just kind of do one more interesting thing so we can get some loops in the mix. What's nice is, this is continuously updating, and that's pretty sweet. That'd be cool if that was on your wall, just randomly generating, right? What we're going to do as well, let's just mess with this a little bit. Instead of mouse drag, let's go back to mouse clicked. Just to show you. So you've seen the dragging functionality. What if we wanted to just make, and you may like what we just did there, but you may like this as well. Let's make a constant. Recall when we have our constants, they should be static. They should be final. We don't want it to change anywhere. But let's say I want to, I don't know, make 50 circles every time I click. All right? So now it will be create random circles. Okay? So we still have our random object, but now we're going to bake in, let's bake in a for loop. I is less than our constant. So hopefully you like this. So now this method's going to be void. We're going to make a bunch of circles. Now, if we're going to make a bunch of circles, we're going to need to feed it the pane. Okay. So now this is void. And anytime we click, what do we have here? We have our method create random circles. Anytime we click, we're going to create random circles. and we'll feed it the X, the Y, but now we're going to feed it the pane as well. And this should be all right. Now, since we're feeding it the pane, let's just verify here. If we're feeding it the pane, is that going to be sufficient? Let's see. I think this may fail at first. No, we'll have to do it here. But now that we're feeding it the pane, we always have to do this. If we do get children, and then we add each of these circles. We have to add them, otherwise we weren't going to see them. But now we can't do it here, and we'll just feed it the pane. Okay, so we have to get the children, and this is going to add each circle. So in this loop, each time we're going to add each circle to the pane. That'll be called 50 times every time we click. Okay, so now we're making 50 circles, and let's see how this looks. So that's kind of beautiful in and of itself. So there are 50 circles centered at the same spot. Of varying color and radius. So it's kind of making like these beautiful earrings. Now, if we want, we could make the radius be a little bit more wild. Maybe we'll get a little bit more variability. But keep in mind, we're making 50 circles, so randomly in between, they end up kind of big and small. So maybe we only want to generate 5 circles. So we're going to make 5 random circles where the radius can be rather large, potentially. See, now we're getting a little more variability. So this is kind of the added bonus. So you can see what we got going on here. Now, if we want, yeah, I think we've reached a nice stopping point here. But there's always more extensions that you can make. You could turn this into the dragging. It might get a little busy, but you could do setOnMouseDragged, and then let's do it, and then we'll finish up. All right. So if it's on mouse dragged, what that means is how many numbers of circles do I want? Let's say I make 20, and let's have the radius. Let's go a little smaller. All right, so this is the last bit of the demo, my friends. So let's see here. Oh, this is kind of cool. This makes me think of a sushi chef chopping up cucumbers beautifully. But so this is kind of cool. We kind of have like this wild snake going on here. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I'm going to keep on doing this stuff because it's fun for me. I hope it's a great resource for you. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, and have a beautiful day. Thank you.